Well, in America, it's enormous.
Yeah, I think you mean in the only country that really matters.
Super Bowl 56, which saw the Los Angeles Rams defeat the Cincinnati Bengals, was relatively unremarkable in viewership terms. And yet, across the various broadcasting platforms, the game totaled a viewership in excess of 112 million. That represented a rise on the previous year, but it was still significantly short of the 172 million viewers attracted by Super Bowl 51.
Okay, keep in mind these numbers are insane because they are American viewers, not India or other pit stop countries like Portugal or England, but America. The amount of value that these viewers have is much greater than any soccer event could ever hope to obtain.
But 2022 still described the event's penetration. According to Nielsen data published by NFL.com, 90% of all people using a television in the United States during the event on February the 13th, 2022 were watching Super Bowl 56.
Which is mind-blowing, by the way. Imagine having that many people tuned in on one event in a country as wealthy as America. Soccer could never and has never.
So while it has its ups and downs, the Super Bowl dominates its market.
I like how he says dominates its market. No, I think you mean the market. No other country even comes close to generating the amount of money directly from viewers, the way the USA does.
By adjusting its estimates to include different sized viewing parties, Nielsen calculated that roughly 208 million people watched the most recent Super Bowl.
Once again, these numbers are a different level of insane because remember, they are American viewers, not these other countries that no one cares about.
But the World Cup is on an entirely different scale.
No, not really.
In 2018, 3.6 billion people watched the tournament. Across the 64 games played in Russia, the average per-match television audience was 194 million. Essentially, on a viewership basis alone, that equates to 64 Super Bowls within a month. According to FIFA's estimates, the total audience across all games and ceremonies in 2022 is expected to rise significantly and exceed 5 billion.
Okay, stop. Let's break down this narrative. Okay, so first of all, let's compare the viewership and the earnings of the 2022 FIFA World Cup and the viewership and the earnings of the NFL both over a 4-year cycle. So in the NFL, the average television viewership per game is 17.9 million. In an NFL regular season, each team plays 17 games, and there are 32 teams, making a total of 272 games. And keep in mind, I'm not even factoring in the playoffs. So just off the regular season and the Super Bowl over a 4-year period, you get a total of approximately 20 billion viewers of the NFL. Yes, let me say it again, folks, 20 billion viewers. These numbers are way higher than people would expect or even realized. But now let's calculate the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The World Cup in Qatar had a total viewership of 5.4 billion people over the entire 4-year cycle. On average, they have less than 14.2 billion viewers than the NFL. But here's where the greatness of America comes into play. Over that same cycle, the NFL generated approximately $80.8 billion, while the World Cup generated approximately $7.4 billion. That's a huge difference. The World Cup had all of the world watching and still couldn't sniff what the United States generated. And to break it down even further, one NFL viewer, just one, is worth the equivalent of 519 World Cup viewers. It's not even close.
That would be greater than the 3.6 billion who watched the 2012 Olympic Games in London, or the 3.2 who tuned in to watch the Rio Games 4 years later. But the final itself has a staggeringly high audience, and as a single one-off game is really the only direct comparison with the Super Bowl. In 2010, 909.6 million people worldwide watched Spain beat the Netherlands.
This would be impressive if it wasn't so misleading. The 2010 World Cup for the entire cycle had around 3.6 billion total viewers, while the NFL for that same time period had around 19.96 billion viewers. The NFL is watched more, and that's just the facts.
An audience more than 14 times the size of the two countries' collective population. In 2014, that figure rose again, with 1.01 billion viewers tuning in to see Germany defeat Argentina after extra time.
Once again, he gives off the impression that this is a crazy amount, but overall, the 2014 World Cup was watched by 3.2 billion people, while the NFL over that same time period was watched around 19.74 billion times.
And that number grew further in 2018, with 1.1 billion people across the world seeing France defeat Croatia in Russia.
Once again, I hate to keep saying this, but he keeps giving off the impression that this is a crazy amount. But overall, the 2018 World Cup was watched by 3.572 billion viewers, while the NFL over that same time period was watched around 19.75 billion times.
It's an upward trend
For one game.
which captures the growth of the event, but also the tournament's truly global nature and the final's imperviousness to the identity or size of the countries taking part.
Soccer is global, I'll give it that. But the NFL is just on a whole different level. Money-wise and total viewership-wise, it's not even close. In America, damn near no one cares about soccer at all. People from these irrelevant countries just overhype it. And that's what it really comes down to. The hatred of the USA just for being on top for so long, we run the world literally. So this notion that 5 billion people watch the World Cup while only 100 million people watch the Super Bowl or whatever this guy was saying is just wrong, because that number is determined over a 4-year cycle. And when we measure it on the same playing field money-wise, viewership-wise, and quality of viewers-wise, it's not even close.
In that regard, it's a
No, you are done now.